So right now I'm using a technique called water distressing. And that is just where you take a rag or anything that'll soak up water, get it a little bit damp. So after you've painted your piece with chalk paint, you can easily just wipe off the chalk paint with a damp cloth. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I have previously spray painted this mirror frame with metallic gold. Let that dry. Then I custom mixed a color of Cece Caldwells chalk paints to make this beautiful Tiffany blue color. And my goal here is to wipe off some of the chalk paint to bring out the gold underneath. So that's what I'm going to work on right now. I really want to do it to the parts of the frame that have a lot of texture, the pieces that stick up. So this picture frame, or I mean this mirror frame, is perfect for something like this because it has a lot of carvings and I can really bring out the detail in it. I find that if I go in a circular motion, the paint comes off a lot easier. I don't know if you can see this, but the gold is poking through really nice. I don't want it to show through a whole lot, so I'm just really focusing on the little parts of the carvings that are raised. You also want to do this before you wax, because otherwise it's going to be virtually impossible to get the paint off once you've waxed it. I mean, using the water technique. I like this technique a lot better than dry sanding because I don't have any paint dust, and who likes paint dust? Not me. That's for dang sure. Alright, so I'm going to continue this all the way around the mirror frame because you can't see it. I'll show you in the end, but this is a circular frame and it's carved all the way around. So this is going to take me a little while. I don't want to bore you too much, so I will fast forward through this and get to the next step. Alright, so I just finished water distressing this mirror frame. I think it looks pretty awesome. This has got to be my favorite technique with this gold and this Tiffany blue color. It just looks amazing. So I went all the way around the mirror. The water distressing really gives it a naturally distressed look, whereas when you dry sand, you get scratches and, you know, it doesn't look very natural. The water distressing just kind of wipes it away like age would. So here's what it looks like after you water distress. That took me about 3 minutes to do the whole frame. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Cece Caldwell clear wax and I'm going to put a light coat over the whole frame using my wax brush. You don't have to use a wax brush, but when I'm dealing with pieces that have a lot of carving, I like to use a brush because the bristles can really get into those crevices, places where a rag would have a really hard time getting into. I also have to say that the Cece Caldwell wax is the best wax that I've used so far. It's eco-friendly, and unlike other waxes, it doesn't have that, you know, that horrible wax smell. It just smells like chemicals. It gives you a headache. If you use it inside, you have to ventilate. This is just all natural wax, so when you open up the can, you can barely smell it. You can use it inside. I mean, you can get it on your hands and rub it in. It's not going to dry out your skin. It's just great. So I'm going to use that on the mirror frame, and I'll kind of show you how that's done. And then I have one more step that I want to do to this mirror, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so I have allowed this to dry. I water distressed it. I let all the water dry, so it's completely dry now. And I have my can of wax. I'm just gonna dip my brush lightly into the wax. Get a little bit on there. And then in a circular motion, I want to try to get in all of the cracks and crevices. Now, since chalk paint is very porous, anything that you get on there, whether it be wax or water, it's gonna change the color of the paint dramatically. So don't be alarmed when you start waxing and your paint changes color. It gets darker. But that will go away once the wax is dry, and it will be back to its original color. So the next step I'm gonna do after I get the wax on is apply a finishing product from a company called Maison Blanche. And this finishing product is called Le Dirt Antiquing Dust. I like to use this sometimes over dark wax because it gives it more of an authentic, aged look. The dark wax gives a piece kind of a brown tone. The antiquing dust will give it more of a grayish tone, which mimics the look of dirt a lot better than the dark wax. So that's the look I want to achieve for this piece. So I'm going to finish putting a light coat of wax on, and then I have to wait about 5 minutes for the wax to dry just a little bit before I put on the antiquing dust. So I'm going to finish this step of waxing, and in about 5 minutes from now I will show you how to apply the antiquing dust. Alright, so it's time for the next step. I've let the light coat of wax that I put on here dry for about 5 minutes. And then I also took a clean rag and I wiped off any excess wax that might be on here. The reason for that being is that I don't want this antiquing dust to stick on the flat surfaces of this piece. I just want to get it into the crevices of the carvings to make it look like dust has been accumulating over the ages into this piece. It's really going to give it an authentic aged look. What you need is a pure bristle brush. You want it to be kind of rough because what you're going to do is dip it into the dust and shove it into the crevices. So I'm going to get started on that. Here's what it looks like. It really just looks like ashes. So I'm gonna lightly dip my brush in. I want to start with these carvings here. So I'm gonna lightly press it in to the wax. I'm just putting it in areas that I want to highlight. Areas that you think would have been accumulating dust. Alright, so I'm going to continue to go around the whole piece with this in areas that I feel need to be highlighted. I'm going to let it sit for about 10 minutes and then I will go around with a probably this same brush and just get out any excess that didn't stick into my piece. Okay, so I've come to the realization that this aging dust is a little bit hard to work with because the wax pretty much acts like a glue and this really sticks to the wax. So in my case, today with this frame, I did not want the aging dust to be on the high points of the carvings, which it got on there. So instead of waiting for it to dry and using the brush like I said I was gonna do to get the excess off, I ended up taking my rag and just going around the entire piece as if I was cleaning it. And I found that that really gives it an authentic look. So this is how it should be done. You put this aging dust on, and before it dries in the wax, you take your rag and you just act like you're cleaning your piece and leave whatever residue of the aging dust is left behind, leave it alone. And that's how you create the authentic look of an aged piece. And I think this looks really, really good. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna keep this rather than sell it. So once this dries, I'm going to put the mirror back in and I will show you some after photos.